Hello everyone, welcome back. Today I want to talk to you guys about why new shooters have such a hard time keeping their booger hook off the trigger, okay? And this is really important if you're training new shooters. You got to understand the mindset. You cannot come at it from the perspective of you've been doing it for so long or you didn't have a hard time learning it. You got to understand that that new shooters have been training from childhood, that the second they pick up anything that looks like a gun, the finger goes on the trigger, okay? And as adults, they've been reinforcing that, because every time they pick up a drill or a screw gun, or every time a woman picks up a hair dryer, her finger is immediately on that trigger. Okay, so they've been reinforcing it their whole lives, so they've already got the muscle memory. Okay, so in training new shooters, you have to understand that you're fighting against already learned and ingrained muscle memory. Right, the muscle memory is already there. So a lot of times when I'm training shooters, I mean, I always give them a safety briefing. Gun stays in safe direction, fingers off trigger until you're ready to shoot. Treat all guns like they're loaded. Okay, and what I will usually do is I'll lock the gun open, especially on a Glock like this that has no safety. The safety mechanism on this is keeping the gun locked open so the gun can't possibly fire. And then what I'll do is, I'll take the loaded magazine, I'll put it in. Okay, so again, the gun cannot fire, and the reason is because I want to have them in position, right, so that they can, once I position their hands, all I have to do is reach underneath and hit the slide release, and they will be able to shoot. So I don't want to have to do this. I don't want them to try and load the magazine. All I want to do is teach them to hit the targets initially, and just learn to hold the gun and handle the recoil. Right, we're talking shoot for the very first time here, right? So I will. With the gun locked open, I'll put the magazine in. I will place the gun in their hands, and after I told them, do not put your finger on trigger, and I will tell them again, right? Okay, hold the gun, don't put your finger on trigger. I will see them, right? They heard me, okay? But this is what I see. They'll look at it, they'll take the finger, and they're like making sure it like really gets in there, right? They're like, oh, gotta get that in there, okay? And then so they're here, and then I will take with my hand, I will take this out, and I will put it there. And then I'll start talking to them, right? And then I'll see them do this. And then I'll take this out and I'll put it there. All right. I'll start talking to them. I'll say, keep it out. All right. Keep it right there. And then I'll keep talking to them, and I'll see that again. So they're going to keep going back there because that is what they've been doing their whole lives. Unless it's there, they don't feel comfortable. Okay. So that's the important thing to understand, that we're training new shooters. So now usually after I've done this a couple of times, they'll start to remember it. But then what I will do is I will do this while they're holding it here. I'll take my finger, right, like this, and I go, bad finger, okay? I'm trying to break the ice that's in their head, right? That ingrained muscle memory of everything that looks like a gun, the finger goes on the trigger. So I'll hit them a couple of times on the finger to, of course, the gun's pointed right down range at the targets, right, no matter where I'm at. But that's kind of how I try to get into their heads. Take my finger, hit their finger a couple of times, just to kind of spank them, right? At that point, a lot of times people will get it. Some people won't, okay? And then, so I'll see the finger go back over here, okay? So then I'll do is I'll pull the finger out, I'll put it there, and then what I will do is I will put my hand on the gun and I will hold it in place. Because the reason is, okay, because I've got their feet in the right position. I've got them holding the gun the way I want them to hold it, right? But they keep doing that, and the problem is I don't, I already talked to them about looking in the glass, finding the reticle, getting it on the target. And nice thing, like for the last year or so, I've only been using pistols that have optics to train people, and specifically the ACSS Vulcan, because it is way easier for them to find that. I tell them, listen, look for the edge of the circle, follow that to the center, and get that arrow on the target. Okay. I don't even talk to them about the iron sights at that point. Okay. I just need them to get used to the recoil, hit the targets, get used to the recoil, learn to stand. We'll get the iron sights later on. Okay. So at this point, I've got them standing like this. I got their hands in the right position. They're aiming at the target. Is the arrow on the target? They're like, yeah, the arrow's on the target. They still keep trying to get that finger on the trigger. I'm holding it here because I don't want to close the gun while the finger's on the trigger. So I will hold it here, right? Then I'll reach underneath here, right? I got a magazine there, so I won't close it. I'll reach underneath, and then I'll close it, and then I'll be like, once the gun's closed, then I'll take my finger off of their finger, and I'll say, now put your finger on the trigger, right? And I've already talked to them about picking up the slack, gently squeezing, and keeping the reticle on the target while they're doing that. But that's the important thing to understand with new shooters. Okay, they don't feel comfortable unless their fingers on that trigger, because their whole lives that's what they've been training to do, to get that finger on the trigger as fast as possible and keep it there. Okay, so that's an important thing. And this is like as a gun trainer, right? And for some of you guys that might be introducing your wives, kids, girlfriends to guns, you gotta have that in mind. You gotta understand that they've been trained their whole lives to put their finger on the trigger as fast as possible. Okay, okay. With most of these people, you will not be able to untrain them, to unteach them the thing that they've been learning their whole lives in one training session. It usually takes multiple training sessions before they can start having that finger discipline, and then it'll still take so one of the things that I because a lot of times I will train a couple, and let's say the husband might be getting it, the wife may not be getting it because she's so used to handling that hair dryer, right? I'll say, listen, she cannot shoot unsupervised. Okay, somebody has to manage her and keep that finger off the trigger. And here's the thing, just because somebody is new and they cannot shoot unsupervised doesn't mean that we should disregard them. Doesn't mean that we should it's like they just need time to learn this thing. They're not going to learn it in one training session. The main thing is somebody has to be with them that's paying attention to this, because because if you leave them alone, right, they'll point the gun down towards their feet with their finger on the trigger, right? They'll do stuff like that. Normally they won't point the gun at other people because that's not something they've been training to do, right? They'll generally keep the gun downrange until they get tired, then they'll point it down towards their feet. A lot of people think that their feet are a safe place to point the gun. So again, with a lot of people, they need supervised shooting, all right, before they're able to shoot on their own. And just because they understand it and they can repeat it back to you, doesn't mean that you've broken that muscle memory that's been building up for the years, right? Because you can have a completely intelligent person, right, that's completely understanding you, repeating everything back to you, but when they get on the gun in their hands, that muscle memory takes over, right? They could be there like, okay, finger off trigger, finger off the finger, finger off trigger, finger off trigger. Oh shit! I put my, I'm like, no, you just tweak your finger on trigger, So you got to realize that when you shooters, a lot of times when with the picture taking, right? Because a lot of these new shooters, they want to take pictures, which is good. Picture taking is good because you want them to post their pictures on Facebook and for everybody to see it. Their friends are going to see it, because if you can train one person and get them to love it and basically talk about it on social media, that's going to bring in like 10 more of their friends, right? That's going to bring 10 more of their friends that maybe didn't consider trying out guns. That's going to start piquing their interest, right? So by recruiting one person, getting them to post their pictures on social media, that's going to bring in 10 more after that. Okay, so that's a really important thing. And also, even if they don't actually get to the gun range to shoot, their mentality starts changing a little bit, because a lot of people have this mentality that only gangsters, criminals, people that are going to war, people that intend to kill people are the only people that have an interest in guns. But then when they see, let's say, their sister or their brother or their aunt or somebody shooting guns, now they start getting a totally different image of what people are interested in guns. Okay, so that really changes things. So even if they don't actually ever get to shoot, they have a different concept of who's interested in guns. Okay, it's not necessarily the people that they thought were interested, but it's also people that they know and that they might consider normal people or family members. It's not just the wackos that they'll see in the news. So that's an important thing. Now, thing understand when the picture taking time comes, right? And you'll tell them keep your finger off trigger, point the gun up like that, right? All right. By the time you get back over there to take the picture, they've already gone here, right? So you've already checked the gun, right? Tell them to point it up. Point it in a safe direction, point it up. They will usually do, right? Because they have not been reinforcing pointing the gun at people their whole lives, right? So that part most people will get. They'll keep the gun pointed in a safe direction. But as soon as you get back there to take the picture, by the time you get back there, they've already done this, because that's what's in their that's what their muscle memory is, right? That's where they think their finger belongs. If it's not there, they're just not doing it right, right? So it takes a lot of training to unteach people to keep their fingers straight. So an important thing that I think that a lot of us, right, people that have been shooting, that we don't quite understand, because at some point we were all beginners, right? At some point we were all new shooters, and I think that a lot of us, right, and I see this with a lot of people that shoot guns, they forget what they had to go through to get to the point that they are now. What they forget the training process that they had to go through. Okay, so they'll look at a lot of these new shooters and they'll like instantly condemn them. But we need those new shooters. We need to recruit them to our side. And you know, if a picture gets out there where they're standing here like this with their finger on the trigger, I don't care, because you know what? In the long run, that helps the cause, because more people are gonna see that picture that previously didn't think that kind of a person that they know from work or from school, or from a family member, they didn't think that person would be interested in guns. And now that they're seeing them, they're like, wow, maybe there's something I should try out. Okay? So vastly important. Those are the important things for us to understand. People have been training their whole lives to put their fingers on triggers. It takes a lot of training to unteach them that, and you're not going to do it in 1, 2, or 3 training sessions. So thanks for watching. If you're not a member of my channel, subscribe. Make sure you guys are following me on Rumble, Odyssey, all my other groups. On Rumble, I'm Pocono Guns. On Odyssey, I'm Pocono Tactical. I'll talk to you all soon.